who fight for free and fair elections, invented scan the ballots of kinematic artifact detection. You love to read and learn, travel and explore. You're a fearless, braveheart patriot who's opened doors. You are courage, you're our voice. Jovan, we thank you for what you're fighting for. You're our warrior. You are brave like a lion. You're David fighting Goliath, couldn't ask for more. You're our warrior. Think of what you've done for you, for me, for our country. You'll go down in history as our warrior. You lead by God and always do what's right. In the battle for our nation, you lead the fight. We pray for your safety, the armor of God to protect you from all of us. Here's a thank you for all that you do. You are courage, you're our voice. Jovan, we thank you for what you're fighting for. You're our warrior. You are brave like a lion. You're David fighting Goliath, couldn't ask for more. You're our warrior. Think of what you've done for you, for me, for our country. You'll go down in history as our warrior. Jovan, you're a hero we stand behind. We're inspired by the fire inside your eyes. American proud, we know you'll fight till your dying day. And we'll always stand behind you through everything. You are courage, you're our voice. Jovan, we thank you for what you're fighting for. You're our warrior. You are brave like a lion. You're David fighting Goliath, couldn't ask for more. You're our warrior. Think of what you've done for you, for me, for our country. You'll go down in history as our warrior.
Hey guys, welcome to the program. Y'all hearing me okay, right? Y'all hearing me completely okay in the program? Got a little bit of feedback in my ears. Anyway, folks, welcome to the program. Do me a favor, will you please? Will you please raise a finger, share, like, follow this program? Today's going to be more of a educational, historical bit. I think you might find it interesting. You may have never heard this, seen this from this standpoint. We're going to talk about God, Adam and Eve. Was man cursed? And it's the biblical story which was never explained fully. So here's my question, right? When you think about the Bible, And by the way, don't forget, I'm doing an ongoing series that I've started called The Great Deluge Stories. You'll get another installment today. It is all of the deluge stories from around the world. In fact, there's over 2,200 of them. Different cultures, different deluge story, basically meaning Noah and the flood and what happened with the great flood. Common across this planet, even from peoples that never met each other. So why does everyone have the common deluge story? That's the point. It's there. Every culture has it. And every culture has had it long before man started traipsing around the globe. And so what I'm doing is I'm introducing you to that concept, just retelling the story. That's it. I narrate the stories. And you can search for commonalities, lessons, etc. And you'll find out that all of us go way back. Whether we like it or not, we're all brothers and sisters way back when. And we're all in this big ass boat together. And it's up to us to figure it out, not this hyphenated, divided world that we live in, right? And so don't forget that series. But we're going to talk about some exciting stuff today. Anyway, today's program is brought to you by the fine folks at Goldco. Here's all I'm asking you to do. It's very simple. Just go to jovanlovesgold.com. That's it. I want you just to fill out the form to request your free gold and silver kit today, because now it's time to protect your money with gold and silver. It is that simple. It is that simple. Just share the information. Hey guys, I got a question for you. Where's Helen? You know, we're all family and friends here, and I just noticed, hey, I don't think I've seen Helen in a few days, right? Are from Oklahoma. Anybody know if she's doing okay? Same with Peggy for a while. Been asking. Anyway, just asking. We're all family and friends here, folks. It's not about clicks. It's not about likes. It's not about share. It's not about competing with other podcasters, broadcasters, or whatever. It's just us. For me, I prefer to teach. Right? I prefer to teach. Sometimes I use humor. Can't help that. A few things, kind of a heads up for you guys in Oregon. You know, first off, I wrote a series of books because, and I've been telling you this for a while, our food supply is under attack. And you have to take this seriously. Oregon just introduced a bill to outlaw raising animals to butcher. Yeah. Food sovereignty is an issue. People are trying to control our food supply so they control us. That's why I wrote Food Forest Bible. I want to, as I reach across my desk here, I just want to remind you of these. And a very important thing is I put out hardbound books primarily and in color. I guess because, you know, I just want people to, you got to enjoy the book. And I want it to be, you know, coffee table quality. Is that probably the easiest way to say it? Want you to learn, like, check out this bug. Here's a particular bug in your garden you're probably stomping on, thinking it's a critter that kills your garden. No, it's something that goes out and eats the very things that kill your garden. That's in this book too. You always want to look for my name down there. It doesn't matter what the book is. No dig garden, no weed, no digging for that. We did the same thing with fruits. I do these in hardbound so you can take them outside, but they're beautiful enough to also be not only great gifts, but coffee table books as well. But you've got to look for my name on them because the ruthless rat bastards out there copied them. I did the Food Forest Bible, and I thought I was doing everybody a favor because people said, you're going to do an ebook. I did it. It got cracked and cloned, and you'll see all kinds out there. If it doesn't have my signature on it, don't get it. We've done it for fruit. We've done it for no dig gardening. We've done it for Food Forest Bible. You're going to find a very interesting thing about the Food Forest Bible. It's not only the way you plant a garden and it will provide for you for decades, it's also the great way to hide a garden in plain sight. That's going to come important. We're really taking our time on the Mega Mushroom Manual. It'll be here soon, several other ones, but we're going to keep on giving this. Now, I'll tell you this. The reason I tell you this is I want to show you one little ditty I released yesterday. Listen to this.
California will fine you for selling walnuts that fell from your own tree unless you get a commercial handler's license first. Let me explain why that's property rights warfare disguised as food safety. The California Walnut Board requires every person selling walnuts to obtain handler certification, costing between $500 and $2,000, plus mandatory inspections and compliance paperwork. Your backyard walnut tree legally becomes a commercial food sovereignty operation the moment you sell one bag at a farmer's market. The same restrictions apply to almonds through the Almond Board of California, pistachios, and citrus in some counties. These agricultural marketing orders were designed by industry itself to eliminate small sellers and force banned foods access through approved distribution channels only. And here's where it gets worse. Agricultural marketing orders now control over 50 crops nationwide, from cranberries in Massachusetts to hops in Washington state. Every marketing order follows the same pattern. Licensing costs that bankrupt small growers, while corporate producers write regulations that eliminate their competition through local control restrictions.
It's coming. Anyway, Oregon's outlawing the raising of any animal for butchering. The bill has been introduced. So be careful when you go to it. Anyway, today's program is going to be God and Adam and Eve. Was man cursed? Here's my question. I want you to put it in chat. Here's the question. Did God curse Adam and Eve, or Adam? Was that the curse? Adam, man, you are cursed. What was cursed? That's what we're going to talk about from a historical perspective. And I think you might find some interesting stuff. And don't hedge your bets and say, maybe. What were you taught? God got upset, cursed Adam, cursed Eve, whatever the case may be. What was cursed? What's your thought on what was cursed? What was the curse that actually occurred? Most are saying Eve. I've heard some say that that's why women have their menses. And that's why trans men buy tomato juice every 28 days. Anyway, we're going to talk about that, right? Women say periods and childbirth. We're going to go through every bit of that. I think it's going to be interesting. I think you're going to like it. Share this program right now. Get started in about 3 minutes.
Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The historic Maricopa County full forensic audit effort processed 20,895,610 digital and forensic images of varying formats, resulted in 208 million individual evidence-proof files. The system processed over 58 billion forensic measurements, resulting in over 2 trillion individual base computations. No hopium, no hype, just hardcore forensic evidence. Please make sure the Maricopa County Full Forensic Audit Archives survive. Donate now.
Warning. The following program has been rated Gilligaff and is intended for open-minded audiences. If the truth offends you, or if you are allergic to focused intensity, intellectual athleticism, or the occasional F-bomb or even irreverent humor, please switch off now. If your delicate sensibilities need to be worried about or addressed, might we recommend the Underwater Basket Weaving channel to you? Otherwise, sit back, enjoy the wisdom, insight, and wicked sense of humor.
Cut the crap. How many times a day do you want to say that to politicians, the elite, the loony liberals, the fake news media? and the gender-confused emotional socialist snowflake crowd. Cut the crap is your secret weapon for fighting for our freedoms and our great republic. It all begins with a massive mental enema, freeing you from the toxic news and politically correct views, which constipate your consciousness with stinking thinking. Your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer. He's known for calling out politicians and telling them to cut the crap. You've seen him on virtually every television network and listened to him on Coast to Coast Radio. And now he's here to help you learn to fight for America. Culture, race, and American politics. They all have one thing in common. They all need to cut the crap. Now, here's your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer.
Okay, folks, here we go. We're going to do a special kind of history. Yes, I guess it would be biblical teaching. And we're going to talk about God and Adam and Eve. Was man, was mankind, was womankind, was Adam, was Eve cursed? I want you to look at that image on the screen. First off, we use artificial intelligence, right? AI, to do these different photos in the program. You know, you do it in. I want to tell you something very interesting. It took multiple attempts. The description was create an image with God walking with Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. The first 4 times AI gave us that photo back, it was God and 2 dudes. And progressively, they made the dude maybe a little smaller and a little more feminine, but it was distinctly 2 dudes. Then they have to put in a literal instruction, God, one individual, Adam, a man, Eve, a woman, and give it instructions. And then it gave me back God, Adam, and 2 chicks. 4 times in a row. It's a very simple instruction set, but that's how AI, right, undoes this stuff. And an interesting thing, though, is generically you ask most of the AI image engines to create an image of God, you never get the Christian God. Right? So we kind of stopped on this one. But AI is only as good as the programming, and it inherently has something in it that tells it to program it that way, right? Now, when I asked you the question, when you were told and educated on the story of Adam and Eve, what happened, who was cursed, etc. They were banished from the garden. They ate of the, whether tree of life, tree of knowledge. It was with an apple. It was with this. It was that. Woman was cursed with painful childbirth, her menses, etc. That's the story I want to share with you today. This is not about your belief. This is not even a sermon. I don't need you to say, it's the Jews. So don't tell me, well, Adam and Eve were kicked out of the garden because the Jews, just don't do that, because that's not what the topic is. The topic is, I want to give you something to think about. It's very subtle, and it all comes down to words. But I've always taught you it's very subtle, and it always comes down to words. Now, 2 things in our society is happening right damn now. Every religion is in conflict, pointing fingers, and it's decidedly against anything Judeo-Christian. That is by design. And even very good people just don't know they're doing it. When they share, it's the Jews, they just don't understand it, have no concept how your mind has been hijacked to work for evil. The other side of it is our food supply, our garden, is massively under attack, right? And by the way, in Oregon, I told you about that bill. One of the things that's also in that bill is that outlaws hunting and fishing. So this is coming. This is coming. Just like you can be in the Bronx and now you have to listen to the call of prayer for Islam 5 times a day over the loudspeakers, like Minnesota, like Michigan. And I think that's why I gravitate more to trying to get people grounded in this. Because now more than ever, we need to understand the spiritual warfare we're in and the battle that we're in, right? And you ask, how is it constitutional to take away our freedom to grow fruit? And there you go. They're used the same excuse. Well, it's not in the Constitution. You need to prepare. I'm just telling you, you need to prepare. Do not put it off. And I realized that, when I did this was the very first one that had ever been done in history. It's a 4,000-year-old technique, a biblical technique for growing food in a food forest. The longest ongoing one's been feeding a village for 4,000 years. Continuously. That's what a food forest is, right? But it just dawned on me, even prepping for some of the things that I've been talking about, it's also the very best way to hide your food. Since the release of this book, what's it been? 2.5 years or so? Since the release, 2 years, since the release of our book, you're now finding people discovering ancient food forests. They had no idea what they were standing in until they looked around and go, oh, holy smokes, because ancient civilizations used these. So it's the perfect way to cloak your food. Anyway, just pay attention, folks. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about God and Adam and Eve and was man cursed? And most people said they were taught that man was cursed. Okay? Man was cursed because Eve, right? It is Eve, although they're trying to think to change it. It could have been Eve. It could have been, Adam and Eve. It could have been Adam and Steve because he identified. Anyway. And you hear about this temptation. And they undertook the temptation. But what was the actual issue? Do you know what the actual issue was? If you had to look at the actual issue, and we had to study it on a deep theological basis, do you know what it was? Do you know what the issue was? Hang with me here, okay? And by the way, for those of you out there that sent the email that said gold, I said put it in your reference line, telling you how to get land, collect minerals, take care of yourself, etc., build wealth through minerals. You should have got an email back. From the one you sent, you got an email back. It had 12 questions in it that you need to answer. Make sure you have replied to that because we're gathering them all. We're going to do this through one swooping effect. Make sure you have replied and answered those questions. It's very easy to answer questions, but we don't know specifically what you want until you answer those questions. You got to get it back. And the ones that answer the questions, you're going to start getting information back just to confirm we've got exactly, meaning this is what you want, etc. So make sure that you answer. So let's talk about this, okay? In all of these systems, most people say that God cursed Adam for disobedience. That's how most people have been taught that God cursed Adam for disobedience. However, and this is important to the connection I talk about and been teaching about for years. If you really read the text carefully, that is not at all what it says. Not even a stretch in imagination. Some religions, remember, faith is yours direct with God. Religion is the man-made component of it, okay? Some religions will tell you, well, it was to curse man because he was a horn dog, or it was to curse women because she tempts men. And that's where they take words in a context and a singular verse or whatever and try to weaponize it and make a sermon out of it, but it really has nothing to do with it. But most people will tell you God cursed Adam for disobedience. But if you read it, that is not what it is. See, in the aftermath of Eden, after the serpent and the forbidden fruit and all that other stuff, okay? After the collapse, we'll just call it innocence, okay? After the collapse of innocence, God does not say, "Cursed are you, Adam, tempted by the fruit of another." He doesn't even talk about that. He does not say, and it does not say, "Cursed are you, Adam." What he says is something far more important to understand and far more mysterious. The actual quote is, "Cursed is the ground because of you." Most people immediately say either cursed Adam, cursed Eve. The literal text says, "Cursed is the ground because of you." It's not the man, it's the ground. It's not the man, it's the ground. And buried in that judgment is one of the oldest and deepest ideas of biblical thought. That when man fell, okay, when man fell, all of creation fell with him. That is the current line of thinking. That when man fell, all of creation fell with him. Now, to modern ears, that might sound symbolic, or it might sound, yeah, Adam was grounded, literally. It might sound symbolic. It might, perhaps some people consider it poetic. But to the ancient Hebrew mind and Hebrew text, the earth was never just dirt. Now, this is a key concept. You can even go to the science. We've talked a lot about this science, about getting your hands in the dirt. You can literally be manic and have wild swings and all kinds of things. If you will take off your shoes and your socks and stand on the ground, even just for a few seconds, you can completely realign yourself. And by the way, it's not a hippie chick earth mama thing. It's a biblical thing. Get your hands in the dirt. Even science has studied this from a medical standpoint. It's true. It's true. So earth is not just dirt. It's never an empty stage where human beings just acted out their lives. In ancient wisdom in Hebrew, the ground is and was alive, still is, with meaning. It was witness to all that's going on. It was our inheritance. It was testimony to faithfulness, and all of this. Above all, earth was bound to man. Man was bound to earth. So incredibly key. Okay, and yes, you're right. Tesla proved it. Mankind has always fought against the connection to earth, but you are right, Frankie. Tesla proved everything was there, even the power we have. See, in Genesis, and you got to understand, this is where you have to understand the meaning of the words. Man did not merely walk upon earth. Man was created from it. Now, in Hebrew, these words themselves have connection. Adam from Adama, Adam, Adama means, ready? Literally, man from the soil. That's 100% what it means. Humanity, the origins of the word, means from dust of the earth. This is not wordplay by any stretch of the imagination. This isn't wordplay. I guess you would technically call it theology, right? But I don't even use it as theology because some people think theology is trying to muck with your religion. It's just true. So you have to understand collectively for all of us, this is literally our identity. Adam is earth born, formed from the dust, animated by breath, right? And basically in that, born from the earth, animated by breath, we are suspended between soil and spirit. That's the theological background of it. And so when the ground is cursed, which is actually what the Bible says, the ground being cursed. And that's why it's just so important for me that you understand this. Okay? And understand if you just have a really good working knowledge of the earth, it really changes the. And by the way, if you find kids raised in the earth and farming and tilling and stuff, you really find interesting, stable kids. Okay? But formed from dust, animated by breath, suspended between soil and spirit. So when the ground is cursed, you must understand that we, or Adam, was not and is not standing apart from that curse. We're not standing apart from it. We're not different from it. So in the ancient world, land, look at the battles now. What is it really over? Land was never neutral. It never was thought to be neutral. Land is not neutral. A field wasn't a field, just a field. A mountain wasn't just a mountain. And in that basically means the earth can be blessed or the earth can be defiled. It can flourish with righteousness, right? And care. And it can actually withhold its strength under corruption. Simple concept. If you have a river teeming with trout and fish and abundant supply, and man mucks it up in greed and dumps chemical in the river, what's happened? The river withholds its ability to create life. It just cannot be done. That's how it's today, literally what this connection is, but it's how most people just kind of forget it and forget how powerful it is. So it can be blessed or it can be defiled. Now, in biblical thought, the condition of the land often reflects the condition of the people. The condition of the land often reflects the condition of the people. I'll use a prime example here of the Jewish state of Israel, going into a barren land, literally a barren, worn-toward land that had been fought over for, a couple of more thousand years, sodless. Doesn't mean it was SOB-less, it was just SOD-less. And what did the Jewish people do? Nurtured, cared the land. And what you see many times, you see Israel and you think of it as a desert. Ironically, Israel is incredibly lush, incredibly green, and incredibly productive. And you can literally see the demarcation line. You can see the demarcation line between a people that understand that, cherish and worship and have that connection to the land, and people that don't care and are bent on destruction. And it goes right back to barren desert again, right? And so what happens is if people truly, and look around, the answer has always been there. If people live in harmony with God, the land yields abundance. Where else do you see that in the modern world? Let's just take the United States of America. Could you say that if you lands that are truly in harmony with God have incredible abundance? Maybe like the Amish or the Mennonite? Can you see that analogy, that understanding? And so you understand in biblical thought, the land is directly connected to the people. In that cycle, rain is going to come in season. It's going to happen. Fields are always going to produce. They would say, ancient times, the vineyards would overflow. But if there was violence, if there was bloodshed, if rebellion filled the people, what happened to the land? It went right back to become barren. It did. It became dry. It became hostile. And so what happens is land in this reflection, and in creation. This is what was cursed, and it's why you have to understand it. And it's why you have to understand our duty to this and our reverence to it. And it's not making you earth mom, and you're not going to pray to trees, and you're not going to put crystals on your head and try to connect your chakra to your taint and all that kind of stuff. You're not going to go out sunning your perineum. Has anybody ever done that? I've read about it, never done it intentionally. Anyway, land creation mimics moral collapse. And that idea comes in Genesis. It's planted right at the very beginning. Now, to understand this, you have to understand that Eden, where Adam and Eve were, was what? Abundance. Effortless provision. Effortless provision. By the way, if you have a problem with ticks in your garden and it's making it hard to garden, go get you some guineas. The birds, go get you some guineas. You'll never have ticks again. It'll only take them, possums. Chickens can kind of eat ticks. Guineas hunt them down. One of our family places, you could have the farmland to the right, if you were looking at the house, never taken care of and whatever. You walk through that land, the grasshoppers, the ticks, everything, all over the place. The demarcation line of the fence, our property, where we raised and placed guineas, you could walk through a field and a grasshopper would never jump because there weren't any. You wouldn't find ticks. You wouldn't even find fleas. That's part of the natural symbiotic stuff. But somebody mentioned ticks. Get you some guineas. That's what they'll do. They're assassins for ticks. They'll go out and do it. And don't kill possums. Possum eat ticks. One eats it during the day. One eats it during the night. Anyway, this idea of the earth and abundance and Eden, it was about provision. You think about the Garden of Eden, fruit hangs abundantly. Water flows freely. And the garden was in order, fertile, abundant, and alive. At that time, see if you can agree with this, it's all about abundance. You don't hear Garden of Eden, break your back, toil. You hear Garden of Eden was there and it was abundant. There was no need for anything. Everything was provided. And in order. Therefore, at that time, Adam's work as a man was not in torment. Adam's job then wasn't torment and toil. It was simple stewardship. And where did he live? He lived in a sacred space, and he tended it. He kept it. And some say to serve as the priest of creation, from that standpoint, not for mankind, but for earth, you're right. And then he has domain. He's naming things, everything else. Well, then what happened? There came rebellion. And with that rebellion in the Garden of Eden, what happened? It all ruptured. The harmony broke. He had dominion. And in that moment in time, the relationships between God and man is shattered. And the relationship between man and the earth is shattered. It just went away. It was a natural, abundant, providing microcosm of everything you need. And so God did not say, Adam or Eve or Adam and Eve, you are now cursed. That's not it. What God actually did is cursed the ground because of you. That's it. Not because the soil sinned, and certainly not because the earth rebelled. That's not it. But because of the one that was appointed to rule it, mankind, it did. And that is the most ancient principle of what this connection is. Man was given dominion. Hang on one second. Man was given dominion. And so what I'm trying to get you to connect to is how it's important when we talk about land. Okay, one second. When we talk about land, okay, great. When we talk about land, we went from a time where it was provided for us, it was abundant, etc. So what happened? When that caretaker, when that ruler, let's just use that term there, when that caretaker, when that ruler, when that one that had dominion failed, everything under his care suffers too. It's just like in a family. Have a mother, have a typical family unit, two dads, dad, mom, multiple kids, have mom or dad come under attack. The whole family unit can fail. And so the transference of this disorder wasn't just in Adam's heart. It spread outwards. Now, remember what I'm doing here, folks. I am giving you the ancient meanings and teachings of what Adam and Eve, Garden of Eden actually was, and what and who was cursed. And so that disorder spread outwards, and it spread downwards. It went into the world at his feet. And that is why the curse reflects and shows itself in agriculture, in labor, and in resistance. Some of you named this earlier, but now you get why it even mentioned what will come forth, thorns and thistles, it shall bring forth for you. And that is not a random detail. Look at the image on my screen. Look at the image on my screen. Everything was abundant. There was no want. Mankind was caretakers. Everything was abundant. But as soon as it went into the rebellion mode, everything fell. See, and then when God tells you, because he didn't say, Adam, you are cursed, he says, cursed is the ground because of you. And goes on to say that thorns and thistles shall bring it forth to you. Those are not very passive statements. And those are not random details. Those are facts. Those are symbols. What happened is the ground, which was once fulfilling and willing, now only responds to Adam with struggle. Bread will still come, but now through sweat. Life will continue, but now through hardship. The earth will still produce, but it does so reluctantly. And it's because creation has become resistant because of man's first act of resistance to God. That's the entire cycle. It mirrors the teaching that what you put in is what you get out, what you get back. You see it in your kids, you see it in societies, you see it everywhere. As things become defiled and moving further and further from God and the connection, everything becomes resistant. All of creation became resistance because man resisted God. Now, in ancient Jewish and Hebrew teachings, there's something else very critical you need to understand here. And by the way, I want to let you know, as soon as I leave this episode, I'm hopping over to Locals to continue my series on Islam, so you understand it. It's kind of a bite-sized series. Yesterday's was pretty intense, where we kind of unpack it, because just like I tell you about politics or elections, if you don't understand how the system does it to you, you can't defend against it. And we're literally going to look at, in this episode, the Quran and Bible side by side. It actually goes with this lesson we're doing right now to understand the curse of resistance and everything else and what goes with it. And it's pretty startling. It's pretty startling. So in the garden, in this resistance, it was punishment, but it was not only punishment. The lesson here, and the lesson you're taught in Judaism and Hebrew, is it was consequence. Right now we have a society, you could probably agree, that does not understand consequence. You watch children doing stupid ass stuff because they don't understand consequence, and everything is in consequence. Now, what happened is our world had been ordered, created, manifested, fulfilled through obedience. And I almost hate to use that word a bit because of how Islam's turned it into a weapon. You be obedient or you die. But it was an act of obedience, and it was through chaos and this disorder that came through rebellion, of a very simple rebellion. And so from that moment on, mankind reflected creation. And unfortunately, that fractured in everything. The very dust that gave mankind life, the very dust we come from, the very thing we're connected to and bound to as we all do this together, has now become our suffering. So in this case, in Adam's case, what went from organized became disorganized. What was abundant became, nothing. And now we suffer. And with that came hunger, toil. What is the system trying to do to us now, outlawing foods and animal husbandry and stuff? They don't want you to be self-sufficient. They don't want you to learn this ancient thing of literally preparing the earth, working the earth, and being reverent, and it'll be abundant. They don't want you to do that. They want you to depend on it. How do they make you depend on it? They force you to suffering. And then you'll do anything to just get a sandwich. So what happened is now Adam and everybody has to deal with their hunger. And now they have to deal with toil. And eventually this leads into our mortality. And that's the one thing that, if you look at the ancient times, so you lead to our mortality. And that's where God says, for dust you are, to dust you shall return. That's how deep this connection is. And people miss the very thing we were bound to and have always been bound to. Earth. So think about that. The very ground was cursed. It's also the place that Adam came from. And it is the place he'll return to. And so what happened, chills just went down my spine, sorry. Birth and death are now, and always will be, birth and death are now framed by soil. Dust at the beginning, dust at the end. What's in between them that Adam and Eve weren't dealing with? Dust at the beginning, dust at the end, sweat and toil. And that's why when you look at it, and that's why in ancient Hebrew teaching, that's why the curse, the actual curse that was said, it was not Adam a curse, it was the ground is cursed because of you. That is why the curse of the ground, we all deal with it, is profound. Just like right now, we can garden abundantly. I'll give you an example. You take trees, and this is science. This is total science. Think about how mankind currently grows and replenishes trees. Take the little seedlings and boop, 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 put them in the ground, right? Put their nice, neat rows you've seen pine forest. You want to know an interesting thing? If you were to take those trees and not do it that way, now those pine trees will take 20 to 30 years for most abundant harvest age. That's mankind's creation. An interesting thing is if in fact you were just to scatter those seeds almost like in a circle and you let a lot of the other stuff grow under it instead of trying to spray it away and all this other stuff. Did you know the trees will reach mature age in 5 years? Now, in that one thing alone is also a biblical lesson. Most people have no concept of that. They're actually practicing this in Japan. They used to plant their forests very linear and whatever. Then they did all this research and planted them clumped. And all of a sudden, it became abundant. What made it abundant? Competition. What made the end product better? Competition. What happened to all of us when we were young and we were competing to just be the best we can do and everybody was just competing against other, right? And then we went to everybody gets a participation trophy. Be night in little order and do this. What happened? Abundance stopped. These are the lessons we learn all the time. And that's why the curse on the ground is so profound. And that's why it's not merely about farming. It's about existence, our existence becoming more difficult. Somebody said, no shit. I mean, think about that. Just think of your precious children from the time we went to society to compete and it honed your skills and you cared about your skills and it was truly competition to this kumbaya. Competitions mean he's not really in last pace. He was just running at his own pace that he set in his own individualized race. So everybody gets what to do. It killed us. And so what happens, whether we like it or not, the curse that we live is that existence itself became difficult. And we need to understand that. There is no ease. Existence became difficult. That is the curse of the earth. And so our entire ecosystem, no matter what it is, bears the mark of human rebellion. You know how you know this? If you went to the most remote, put this in chat, by the way, I want to see if you get it. If you went to the most remote area in the world, a remote jungle, put in chat a few things. What would that jungle look like? If you were painting a picture or you were describing that jungle to somebody, what would it look like? You might have abundant trees and canopies and all kinds of wild fruit and all kinds of wild animals, all this other stuff. You'd have all kinds of wild stuff, right? Not your fears. What would you describe a jungle as? And there's many jungles in the world that possess no snakes. You'd have abundance, right? You'd have abundance. Now, what happens when land inserts man? Yeah, you got thick and plush, you got rainforests. Evidently in Hawaii, they have wild women. What happens when you insert man? That is another reminder that you must understand in every bit of this, that our ecosystem right now is marked by, another chill went down my spine, is marked by and directly reflects the mark of human rebellion. We can grow food in abundance, paying attention to natural laws, doing things naturally. Add man thinking they can do it better, not as God designed, do this, do that, kill this, spray that. What happens? We kill the land. It is the direct reflection of human rebellion. And so in ancient Jewish circles, this has been thought about a lot, right? Even the early Christian thinkers would think about this fact because it's kind of looking at it. Cody said, man is like a cancer to the earth. That could be a layover. I would qualify that, Cody, in saying a disconnected man, a disconnected human is a cancer to earth. And so what early Christian theologians thought when they really affected on this, because they were looking for cause and effect. Now we just, it's a remedy. Oh, kumbaya, my friend. Dye your hair. That makes you important, right? Early Christian thinkers thought about this and could see it. And they realized that it's just a true fact. Earth, our ground, absorbed the corruption of man. 100% of what God said, that he'll curse the earth because of you. That moment in time, and let's just basically, we were meant to be here. Shannon's got it right. We were meant to be here, and we've screwed it up. That moment in time that you've heard about your entire life, the abundance and Adam and Eve and the garden or whatever. And that might be a distant thing because religion made it a different thing. It was about, man. It was about, you're not obedient to the church. Oh, it was about this. Hey, that one truism, and that's the true story, is still reflected in our life every single day we're faced with it. Now, I would call that a curse. If something you have to deal with that's just a bitch, and you have to deal with it every damn day of your life, that's a curse. Would you not agree? and that mankind has now been dealing with this forever, and it was all about incredible abundance, and then boom, you're on your own, baby. I want you to think about that, because this is reflected in so many ways in our society, so many things that happen in this great disconnect. And you know what? We keep on repeating it. And the system encourages you to repeat it. And so our earth has basically absorbed the corruption of man. It's not that evil itself became, our nature itself became evil. No. It's that it became disordered. It became disordered. It became wounded. It became out of joint. But the beauty of creation remained. Again, go back to some remote part of Earth, and it can be totally frozen. You find a different abundance, but you still find abundance. It can be the bottom of the damn ocean at its deepest depths. You will still find abundance. Think about that. We see this every day. That beauty of creation remained. But so did the decay that came with this curse and falling, the decay, right? So did famine, so did thorns, weeds, death. And so we actually live, if you just kind of step out and see, it's just like seeing Canadian geese flying and all this stuff, and you'll see thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of them up there. Abundance. We are surrounded by massive abundance. And so in the realm we live right now, because see, we were gifted abundance, right? We were gifted abundance. And now we can see the world became a place of where now glory and ruin live side by side. It's not about fixing it. It's about understanding it and your role. We can't fix this. You can fix it for yourself. We can't fix this. You can fix it for yourself. And in the act of fixing it for yourself, you are reflecting, projecting in deed of your commitment to understand, to honor, to cherish, to be connected to abundance. It's really that simple. And it truly is that simple. But see, we've been trained, well, the government's got to fix this. No, that's mankind and its inherent sinful nature. And a government, because there's always money involved, is not a government, which is just like the difference between faith and religion. One is your direct ass connection to God, and I am talking about your direct ass connection to God in abundance. But then you've got religion, man-made, follow their rules, no, do it this way. And that's exactly what government is as well. Government doesn't fix this. You fix this. You fix it for you. It's really a simple concept. But then, what does it force you to do? In this connection that it wasn't man that was cursed. It was the earth that was cursed because of man. And when you start to face that, then you start to realize you can be reverent, you can be great, you can be all this wonderful stuff, but you do nothing to change it. Not even the simplest of acts, just to try to begin the change. Nothing. Because you still support the system. Why? It's convenient. You still support the system. Well, it costs a little bit more for me to grow my tomatoes when I can get them for $2.99 a pound over here and I don't have to do anything. That's the trick. That's the deception. But you see what happens on a mass scale? That's part of the grand deception that we live in. Well, it's easier for them to do it. It's the same thing that government convinced you of. It's easier for them to do it. It's the same thing why most people don't have prayers and petitions to God, but they pray to an idol or the Virgin Mary or whatever you may choose to pray to, which is not God. This is what is called the post-Eden condition. It is, if we go as far back as we can go, this is what we live in. Historically, it is known as the post-Eden condition. And people think, well, we got to get the government to do this. No, you've got to do it. See, what happens is when you do it and you reflect it, and you have the courage to live right, you already know it's right. You already know it's right. And you already knew way before all of this stuff we have, whether it be supplements or grocery stores or anything, man survived. We have it. It's in us. It is literally built in us. The only difference is do we do it? And so what happens is we see this reflection in this post-Eden condition. Paul would talk about this same idea in the book of Romans, in his letter in the book of Romans, which that particular Paul is a Paul a couple hundred years after Christ. But he says creation itself is subject to frustration. Not willingly, but because of man's fall. That's it. And what happens, he describes at that time that creation is groaning. All of creation is groaning, and boy, can you see it now. All of creation is growing because the natural order is operating like if it's in pain. If you look at the earth, this is not be an echo warrior. That's bullshit. They want to force you to do something, right? They want to force you to do something. They want regulation laws to do it, and you're bad for not doing it. It's like the difference in your religion choice. Do you want the religion that leads you, guides you, and teach you, or the one that says, you're going to do this, we're going to chain you, this is going to be it, and if you don't, you're dead? It's never about force. And that's why this is so deeply connected to everything we do. You have to understand the common thing of every of us right now is we are, in fact, tied to a piece of ground. And the first thing that has to change is your mindset. And when you understand, and I used to teach this lesson, I gave it to a pastor 25 years ago to teach. And on a little card, I gave everybody, and this is where the parable comes from in the talk, is one single mustard seed. One single mustard seed. And all anybody had to do in those classes of teaching is take that one seed, put it in a little bitty spit of dirt, let it grow. And then the task was tend and care that one seed, which will now grow the little leaves. And as it grows, you can take a few little leaves and eat, but let the rest of it grow. And what happens? In very short order, as you let that one go to seed, that one has multiplied several thousand times in the seeds that come from that one plant. Now, I want you to think of how tiny a mustard seed is. It's about the size of a period on a piece of paper if you were writing a letter. The entire wisdom of everything is contained in that one little bitty speck. That one little bitty speck, inherently by God, knows everything it needs to do. And it is automatically designed for what? To produce and to be abundant. That's how we're hardwired. We are wired to be produced, to produce and be abundant. But it's us that screw it up. And so what happened is, as Paul talked about this with his letters to the Romans, this is the frustration. We got subjected to frustration, not willingly, but all of us now. And that's the price we all pay for this curse. That's what the curse is. It's not only on them, it's on every one of us forever. That is a bona fide, kick your ass, always reminded of you curse, don't you think? Man's fall. Now, what we're in kind of right now from this standpoint is, and what Paul talked about is that the earth, even then, is groaning under this pain. Now, I want you to think a minute. Was Paul sitting back, looking? Yeah, there you go. How about that? Now that one hits you right in the nads, as they tell people don't have kids or whatever. Defy the instruction you were given. But I want you to think about Paul when he wrote these letters, which applies today. Was he looking at factories? Polluted rivers? Mercury in the sea tuna? No. He was looking at and understanding the very simple fact of what was really cursed and mankind. Although it applies today, it's just, and the only thing that's happened is it's magnified. But then when you look at communities, Amish, Mennonites, etc., who really take this to heart, what do you see? Massive abundance, ability to feed themselves, happiness, stability, all of this. It's all around us. And we see it all the time. And so Paul teaches that the earth is waiting. It's waiting, it's yearning, because it understands, if it's a living thing, and we were talking about in Judaism and Hebrew, we're connected. Whether we like it or not, we are freaking connected. Earth is bound to humanity's fate. Humanity's fate is bound to the earth. And it's one of the Bible's most haunting idea. Get ready for this. Man never falls alone. Denise says, look at the Amish. They don't even have the sicknesses and diseases we have at all. It's just not present in their society. What's their connect? It's a direct reflection, folks. That's why I wanted to share this story with everything is connected. Everything is connected. But here's the deal. Man never fails alone. Why? Because creation is tied to him. When man rebels, the ground groans. When man breaks his covenants, what happens? The world reflects it back. You see it every day with everything going on. And now they're trying to tell you, the people that keep the covenant really try to hold that covenant tight, or the Amish or the Mennonites or any of that. They try to tell you that's bad. See, that's the great deception. It needs you to break your covenant. And then what happens when we die? When mankind die, the dust receives them. Now you kind of understand, when you understand this connection and what it's really about, that mankind was not cursed. Let me tell you why you can look people in the eye and understand why mankind wasn't cursed. Because then there would be no Amish with abundance or Mennonite with abundance if it was man was cursed. And in just those simple rules, you can understand it is about the ground. It's the ground that's cursed. If man comes back into agreement, he can coax abundance out of that ground. He can coax abundance out of that ground. If the man's disconnected, they don't give a shit about it and they forever become a slave. These signs are everywhere. And you also understand why we got thorns and why there are more weeds. That's part of the curse. And those are also part of the signs. Again, it goes back to let your mind wander to a National Geographic in some remote jungle or forest somewhere and just describe it. And what do you see? Incredible abundance, incredible life, all kinds of life, birds singing, everything there working the way as it's supposed to work, the way God did it, the way God intended it. And now you look where we are. These are, when you look around, visible reminders that the world is no longer aligned. And any disalignment reflects. Any disalignment reflects. These are little emblems of disorder, right? And that's disorder. And through that same very ground, here comes thorns, here comes weed. It is the earth literally testifying that something has gone wrong. And so the curse wasn't written on Adam's skin and therefore written on our skin. The curse was written into the ground. And that's why to literally show, right? To show that we are willingly trying to honor that. Remember, you don't get anything out of your faith where they got to kill you. You got to do it. Those people can still be heathens, rape people, think it's okay to rape a woman in the street because she's an infidel. Think what about that begets. And by the way, we're going to talk about it when I go over to locals next. But think about what you get. It takes that intention. It takes that labor, right? And so this curse wasn't written upon Adam's skin. It was written upon the labor that we have to do. It was written upon the hunger we have to do. It was written upon the struggle we have for survival. And it is written daily in the slow decay of all living things. Our earth is 100% a reflection of man's inward fall. There is no way around it. And that is why I'm even doing this, because that one ancient verse, basically, I'm cursing the ground because of you, is why that single verse, as far back as you can go, what you reap, you sow. Now you're getting it. Some people believe the earth is 6,000 years old. And by the way, let's just do this as a poll. How many? Yeah, Isaac says RFK publicly said that the Amish don't have vaxes, they don't have ADD. You get it? There's difference between man and those honoring the connect. Very question. How old do you think humankind is? And it doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong answer. That's not the point. I just want to know where your thinking is. How old is humankind? For me, I think humankind has been restarted over many times from horrible destruction, but for me, it's millions of years, humankind. Some people say 300,000 years. Some people say 60,000 years, right? This is the whole gist. This is the whole gist. And it doesn't matter what it is. But this is why understanding what it really is today carries just as much force today as then. You can learn anything you want in the Bible or anything. But if you go back to that moment in time and you understand what the curse really is, then all of a sudden you can step back and you can see it reflected. It also basically teaches you that, our reality is relational. Our reality is relational. All of it's about relations, whether it be God, whether it's heaven and humanity and creation are linked. That is true. It's relational. It is 100% relational. And then when you think about mankind's connection to all this and what we agree with and what we focus on and what we do or don't do, if we just complain and expect the system to fix it, and of course it never gets fixed, right? It's relational. And then you understand, and I'll use Islam, and remember, I'm hopping over to Islam. What we're going to do is going to pair Bible and Islam, some Quran verses today. It's going to be a very important lesson. But then you understand sin is never private. Not a private thing. Never has been a private thing. Rebellion is never isolated. And that's the sword that cuts both ways. Rebelling against your sinful nature, rebelling to get back to the land and bust the system, that is a rebel. As you do it, as you learn it, others mimic it and see it. Everything in our reality is 100% relational. Sin is never private. And so you got to understand that man's first act, we're going back to Adam and Eve, and that's what we're talking about today, right? That's the whole point. I'm basically giving you the ancient teachings regarding God and Adam and Eve. Was man cursed? And that's why I said, here's the biblical story, which was probably never fully explained to you. But here it is. And this is the reason why I say rebellion is never isolated. And you can have good rebellion, you can have bad rebellion. But that particular rebellion we're talking about, where rebellion is never isolated and sin's never private, is you have to understand that man's first act, going back to Adam and Eve, did not just remain within his own soul. It altered the entire world around him. Think about that for a moment. That act of sin did not remain in his soul. It literally altered the world around him, and it is in play every day to this day. If you don't even understand this, you should be in awe of the biblical nature and God for this. When you understand the power hidden within one mustard seed, and when you understand it's the ripple effect. When you understand you go to force and stuff, another big chills ran down my spine because it's true. We do live to this day, whether we like it or not. It's called generational curses, the sins of our father. And this one major departure, we live to this day. And you can see it if you just open your eyes. That's why I say go look in a remote forest and look at all the abundance. Go look at where man is and what man does, kind of following their own things. And you see just a massive amount of destruction. It's true. Now, in all of this, you need to understand, even though the ground is cursed, it still yields. That's the promise to keep on telling you God's there. Life is hard, but it continues. Adam is not destroyed at once. History went on. Children were born. Seeds still growed, right? The world, yes, was wounded, but it wasn't abandoned. The world was wounded, but it was not abandoned. And that may be the deepest truth hidden inside this story in Genesis 3. See, that curse was never vengeance or just vengeance. It was a revelation of a connection, a revelation that man and this world are bound together, period. And when humanity fails, creation fills it. So you got to read these words carefully, folks. This is even why I did this. Go back. God did not say, "Cursed are you, Adam." He said, "Cursed is the ground because of you. And in that single sentence lies the ancient warning and the ancient mystery that we all have to deal with. Man came from dust. He rules upon dust. He returns to dust. And when he fell, the earth remembered. In all of this, every bit of this is about us on a one-up basis. One tiny mustard seed, like I told you, one seed, right? You give one seed, and if they literally followed through, they sprouted that seed. If they nurtured that seed grew. It was just one seed, grew one mustard plant. You could pull off the leaves, you could eat them, toss them in a salad, leaf after it, but then let it go to seed, and you've got thousands. Now you can replicate it thousands of times. Then all of a sudden you can replicate it millions of times, and then it just goes boom, 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 boom. It's all there, contained in something as tiny as a mustard seed. But where did it begin? God, who did all that inherent abundance, all packed within that little bitty tiny seed. And it took man understanding that and caretaking it as an individual, not a group, as an individual. And what happens? That's why you can literally take something as small as a mustard seed, right? Hang on one second. I got to look something up. Give me 1 minute. Because there's another secret here. I just want to do it. Hold on. I just want to do some math real quick. And again, when I look at this, when I really look at it, and I just try to understand the meaning of everything we've been given, it's really just amazing when you really look at it, right? When you think about the mustard seed, do you know what the most valuable commodities are in the world? Seeds. They surpass gold, silver, diamonds, all of it. Yet we tend to think in terms of gold and silver, when actually seeds are far more valuable. In fact, one little pouch, when the little bitty pouch, if you were to do mustard seeds at the store, it's about an ounce, right? An ounce. That is about 15,000 to 620,000 seeds. Out of that, you would get 15,000 potential plants. And each plant will produce an ounce of seeds, and so on, and so on, and so on. That inherent code for abundance, code, if you actually look at it, it truly is material wealth. It'll feed you, it'll spiritually connect you, it'll feed your family, selling the plants, abundance is written in everything. And it's there, literally right in front of you. And we don't see it, right? Hang on 1 second. And all of it reproduces. Gold doesn't reproduce. Silver doesn't reproduce. Now, what's mankind doing with seeds? I did a show on seed abundance. They intentionally breed in no reproductive abilities. I mean, think about this. You can plant and you can get a seed from that combination, get a seed in with fruit, but those fruit will no longer produce viable seeds. What happens when you convince that little boy he's a girl, that little girl, they're a boy? You got a little boy, you got a little girl, but it will no longer reproduce and be abundant. See, that's what's going on, right? That's what's going on. And it's amazing. I would try this with your friends just to understand this one concept of how intimately we are involved and connected to Earth. Just go spend $1.14, $1.99, $2.99, whatever. Go to Walmart, buy some mustard seeds. Just plain, non-GMO, non-hybridized mustard seeds where man didn't fuck with it. Give them one. And go through this drill and watch it in that little tiny instruction code. And there are seeds that are even smaller than that. Everything's written. And so that's why I did this series. I want you to understand it is not us as mankind that is cursed. It is the earth. And when we understand that, right, when we understand this, and we only focus on ourselves, because even in those seeds, when man got involved, they screwed it up. But why did man do it? So they would control the seeds and control the divinity which was in it by God, and they cut God out. What happened? You became dependent on the system. This is the most important biblical truth of all of it that we're all subject to. And so it's not about competing religions. It's not about what religion is right or wrong. Every religion will always be right to some people and wrong to the others. And every religion will always fight among themselves that their man-made created version is the best. But all that matters is you and your connection. And when you do and practice and understand your connection, you can't help but reflect that to the world. And that's where being courageous is contagious. And that is all this is about. I'm going to hop over to my locals now. Watch for a link in the credit. It's going to be a very interesting show about Islam and the Bible compared. You need to understand some of the passages and the comparisons, and it's startling. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you all. Please share this program. See you over at Local.
Our courts are based on clear and convincing evidence. Want convictions? Want justice? For what happened in the 2020 election? Then we need your help. Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The decision you make in the next few moments could decide whether we ever get our elections fixed or not. Here's why. Trump campaign and allies filed 64 different lawsuits. They all went down in flames. 100% of these cases were presented on "It's the machines," or "The machines changed the votes," or "The voting company executive said he would make sure Donald J. Trump would not win." They all went down in flames. Why? You can't bring theories to court as evidence. No supposed Zoom call or six-degree polynomial math theory or census data is or ever will be proof of fraud. You can't bring theories to court as evidence. Here's why. In both civil and criminal law, the side making a claim carries the burden of proof, and prosecutors must prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Without physical or otherwise verifiable evidence, a case cannot meet this high threshold. Physical evidence is the key. The question is, did anyone get relevant, reliable, provable, testable, and duplicatable evidence of what really happened in the 2020 general election? And the answer is yes, absolutely. The full forensic audit of Maricopa County, Arizona is the only evidence-gathering work which gathered relevant, reliable, provable, testable, and duplicatable evidence of what really happened in the 2020 general election. Evidence so damning that the system, the deep state, and those who pull the strings of this country have fought to keep it hidden and have hoped to have it be forgotten to time. Almost $3 million invested in time, funds, and efforts to unlock that which the system wanted hidden. But now, that evidence is in danger of being lost forever. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then we need your help. Please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. With the 2026 midterms coming up, the system is going to try to lame duck President Trump and then most likely introduce new impeachment proceedings. This is the evidence which will help win the war which is surely to come. We need to keep Maricopa County full forensic investigation and archive secure and ongoing. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then we need your help. Please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. We need your help securing the full forensic audit archives. Don't allow the only testable, objective, and reliable 2020 election evidence fall into obscurity. Millions were spent on getting it documented and tested. This is historic evidence. Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The historic Maricopa County full forensic audit effort processed 20,895,610 digital and forensic images of varying formats, resulted in 208 million individual evidence-proof files. The system processed over 58 billion forensic measurements, resulting in over 2 trillion individual base computations. No hopium, no hype, just hardcore forensic evidence. Please make sure the Maricopa County full forensic audit archives survive. Donate now. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. We can't do it without you. We need you. America needs you. Our future needs you. Please donate now. Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. Please donate now.